Is your relationship starting to sound like another sad love song medley? You don't really want to go. You know you can't keep staying with things the way that they currently are. What you really hope is that you can get it together because you don't want to snooze and lose, but you're also tired of being the main one trying. This is the type of self abandonment that I want to talk about today. I'm Shamika, a clinical social worker, and at the Chrysalis Center, we help women move beyond people pleasing and into a more authentic way of being. Today, I want to talk about a type of self abandonment that doesn't always look like self abandonment. When we talk about a woman who puts herself last and engages in the habit of self neglect, we often picture a woman who doesn't rest, she doesn't buy herself nice things, she doesn't treat herself or engage in the things we might typically think of when we talk about self care. But when I think about self neglect and self abandonment, that's not what I always mean. Sometimes a woman does get her hair and nails done. She does buy the dress. She does take the trip. And she's still putting herself last in places where it may be costing her the most, her relationships. I thought about this while listening to a song called Snooze by an artist named SZA. SZA is singing about a relational dynamic that I think is painfully familiar for a lot of women. Here we have someone with a glam team, designer clothing, and who could book a self care day just about anywhere that she might want to. Yet she's singing about crying and trying to be everything for someone who's lying and threatening to leave the relationship. Despite the drama and the mismatched effort in this relationship, SZA says she can't lose when she's with him. This man is receiving the benefits of her full devotion while she settles for whatever she can negotiate. And I don't think this dynamic is rare, nor is it specific to SZA. This is not an attack on the artist. I realize that she may not have even written the lyrics to the song, but she did choose to sing it, and I see that as an endorsement of this type of relationship dynamic, which is the same type of endorsement that's been happening in Black music for decades. But I digress. I think a lot of women know what it feels like to be the one trying to love a relationship into a better place, a place of mutuality, a place where there's better communication, where she's calmer, she's more respectful, she listens more patiently, she tries to understand where he's coming from because she wants to prove that she's not like those other women who gave up on him. Eventually, the fact that you've tried so hard and for so long starts to feel like evidence that it must have been worth it somehow. But the question I want us to sit with is this: at what point does trying stop being devotion to a person or to a relationship and start becoming self abandonment? The dynamic that Snooze captures is that imbalance where you have one person upset, trying to make things better, making adjustments so that the other person feels more satisfied, more supported, and the other person not not so much. Maybe lying, being manipulative, destabilizing the relationship while continuing to benefit from devotion. We call this relational labor. And in a situation where relational labor is about equal, we have mutuality. But in situations like what this song sings about, we don't have mutuality. And so this is unequal relational labor. Let's expand it from SZA because, again, this is not a personal attack on her as an artist or on this song in particular. But a person in this situation, it's not just that she loves hard. That's not the problem. The problem is that she's loving this hard in a situation where she's unlikely to get that same level of love and effort in return. An important question to ask yourself is: am I participating in a relationship or am I carrying the relationship on my own? A relationship cannot be mutually satisfying if only one person is making effort. You cannot create mutuality by yourself. Sometimes we can mistake other elements of a relationship for mutuality, such as chemistry, history, intensity, but none of these is the same as mutuality. You can have all of these things with a person. It can feel amazing to be around them. Maybe you've known them since childhood, even, and maybe it is the most intense connection you could even imagine experiencing with someone, but that does not mean that person is putting in the effort to make sure that your needs are met, your preferences are respected, and your boundaries are honored in the same way that you might be doing for them. Mutuality means that both people are participating in the care, repair, honesty, and responsibility that healthy relationships require. So, how do we find ourselves in these unequal situations, and why is it so tough to recognize what's going on? I believe it is because our behavior is so tied to our worth and who we are as a person. But this goes beyond the basic if I put others before myself, then I'm a good person. When we apply this to relationships, it can look like if I keep trying, then I'm a loving and devoted person. If I stay patient, then I'm compassionate and kind. If I keep giving chances, then I'm forgiving. And if I stop, then maybe I'm the reason this relationship failed. Or maybe I failed this person. Or maybe I'm a failure. Trying feels virtuous and like the right thing to do. Society tells us nothing beats a failure but a try. If at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. We try, and we try some more because giving up, quitting, failing is not an option. Trying feels emotionally responsible for a lot of those same reasons. We just don't want to give up on situations that feel meaningful to us. Trying gives us a sense that we've done everything we could, but trying can also become a way to avoid telling the truth. Sometimes what's underneath trying is a refusal to believe what the relationship has already shown us. This is definitely a place where commitment to self gets tested, not in whether you're willing to take a mental health day when you need one, but in whether you'll stop working for and waiting in a relationship that might be among the reasons why you need a mental health day in the first place. So, how do we get unstuck? Or how do we begin to get unstuck? Because it is a process. You have to start looking at your relational reality. What is the relationship consistently showing you? What patterns keep repeating? What happens after conversations? What happens after the apology, after the promises? Does repair actually happen or do cycles just repeat themselves? Relational reality is not what the relationship could become, what it was in the beginning, what your partner says when they're afraid of losing access to you, or what you can imagine if things finally changed. Relational reality is what is consistently happening. It asks us to pay attention to patterns and not just potential. Now, I want to talk a little bit about values because this is a place where I feel they can be a double edged sword. You can look at your personal values and see how much alignment is or is not there concerning your relationship. But values also have the potential to mislead us a bit when we're thinking about relational reality. See, if you value love, love can be patient, it can be willing to repair, it can make room for growth, it can offer grace. But it should not require one person to disappear into the work of keeping a relationship alive. Compassion is an important value that keeps us from judging other people and allows us to have empathy for them, but it does not require you to continue explaining away repeated harm. Loyalty is another quality that we pride ourselves on having or that we look for in others, but it does not require you to ignore what you know on the inside. Commitment, that's another big one, but it does not mean settling for instability when you know you'd rather have stable connection. And patience. Patience is a virtue, we hear, but it is not the same as waiting indefinitely for basic honesty and basic care within a relationship. Ask yourself, where are you applying any of these values to what might actually be self abandonment? And on the flip side, where are you having to disconnect from your values, from those things that you say are important to you as a person in order to stay connected to this relationship? That is also information. If you'd like help considering questions like these, you could have these conversations with a trusted friend or a family member, or maybe you want to see a therapist. That's also the reason I wrote You Have Nothing to Prove, a reflection journal built around 24 quietly radical principles for disrupting the habit of self neglect. It's not only about rest, boundaries, or doing nice things for yourself. It's also about examining those places where you're still trying to prove that you're loyal, dedicated, patient, not too much, and worth choosing. Because sometimes we have to ask more than just, do I love this person? Sometimes we have to ask, what is it about self that I'm abandoning in order to keep proving that I love this person? Sometimes the most painful part of all of this is realizing how much of self you've already given up. But anytime we consider these questions, remember that the goal is not to become cold or uncaring. It's to tell the truth about what you already know, about what is beneficial for those we love and for ourselves, and about what is not. As always, I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next one.